I'd like to call to order the East Brandywine Township Board of Supervisors PM meeting on Thursday, September 15th. A recording device will be in use during this meeting for public comment, for agenda items, rules for conduct of public meetings established by Resolution 2001-08. The time allocated to each individual making a comment shall be 3 minutes unless otherwise set by the presiding officer. Additional public comment may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer at the conclusion of the meeting. Tonight, I am the presiding officer because the chairman had a conflict. Next, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have the minutes of the previous meeting of September 1st, 2022. Any comments on the minutes?
Nope, I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Supervisors minutes of September 1st.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And next we have the treasurer's report and authorization to pay bills. I have reviewed the treasurer's report and the bills and the deposits and all the other good stuff in the report, and I'm okay with it. So I make a motion that we approve the treasurer's report and authorization to pay bills. I think my only question is there a payroll? Usually there's a payroll that we approve too.
I don't know what Lisa has in her packet.
Okay, so we're not approving the payroll.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, reports, Township Manager's Report.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board. I have no report this evening.
Okay. Building Inspector's Report.
I'm happy to read that into the record, if you would like, Mr. Chair. For the month of August 2022, total building permits issued were 22, total zoning permits issued were 21. Fees collected for building and zoning permits totaled $18,522.50. Use and occupancy permits issued for prior building permits were 36, and the inspections completed were 175. There were no failed inspections. Total fees collected for this period were $18,522.50. Respectfully submitted, Noreen King, Permits Administrator.
Thank you. Township Roadmaster's Report.
I also do not have a report for this month.
The Police Department Report.
Good evening. In August 2022, East Brandywine Police completed 2,026 incidents. These incidents included 185 investigations, which resulted in 7 criminal arrests and 3 warrant arrests. Officers also conducted 9 vehicle accident investigations. In addition to these activities, East Brandywine officers performed traffic enforcement, resulting in 97 traffic citations and 56 written warnings. Officers also logged a total of 8,584 patrol miles for the month of August. Finally, I would like to report that Officer Ray successfully completed street cop intervention training, and Officer Triola completed his field training officer certificate training. That will conclude my report.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And the Fire Company Report.
Good evening. Joe Edwards for the East Brandywine Fire Company. We had 56 total incidents for the month, 32 fire, 24 medical. We had 14 fire calls in East Brandywine Township, 16 medical calls. We had 4 training events with an average of 23 personnel in attendance. We averaged 11 personnel per fire call and 18 for major incidents. Of note, across from the RV Center on Corner Kedge, there was a significant fire the other day in their garage. Thankfully, from dispatch to the 10-minute mark, the fire was under control due to the quick response of the fire company. We are happy to announce that the building is finally coming to a conclusion. We are planning an open house for the end of the month that will be well publicized and everyone will be invited to. The elevator is going in this week. The paving will finish next week, and the rooftop decking is in progress. So hopefully, within the next 2 weeks or the beginning of October, we will seek a UNO and the building will be completed. Just of a minor note, but that drew a lot of Facebook comments, we have not seen our swan in about 10 days, so he has fled the coop.
Well, there's a lot of fox and coyotes around. All right, thank you. And next is the Planning Commission minutes from July 6th and August 3rd. Any questions on those?
Nope. I'll make a motion that we accept all of the reports as provided, as well as the Planning Commission minutes of July 6th, 2022, and August 3rd, 2022.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is old business. Is there any old business that's not on the agenda? Mr. Revin?
No.
All right, now. Being new at this, I skipped over public comment for agenda items. Is there any public comment for agenda items? I read the rules, but I forgot to ask if there was any. Seeing none, we'll move into new business on the agenda here. Appointment of non-voting members to the Planning Commission. Mr. Revin.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing me. I would draw your attention to Roman numeral 6A and Roman numeral number 8B. We've been advised to make the appointment for non-voting members of the Planning Commission as a resolution. So I respectfully ask we defer this until item 8B on your resolution to appoint
Okay.
non-voting members.
Next would be the draft of the official map and ordinance permission to advertise the, actually, it's a permission to advertise the draft official map and ordinance.
Yes, well, in your packet and available online at ebrandywine.org/agenda center is a copy of the draft official map, last revised September 2nd, 2022. This draft is the result of more than a year's work by the Township's Ordinance Task Force, acting as a steering committee for a Vision Partnership Program grant generously awarded by Chester County Planning Commission. This same draft appeared before the Planning Commission at their last meeting, and both the Ordinance Task Force and the Planning Commission are recommending that the board forward this draft on to the Chester County Planning Commission for Act 247 review and to schedule a date to adopt this.
And we do that in a motion?
Yes.
And this is a draft, right?
It is a draft, correct, and as it is a, it will be an ordinance, so the ordinance must be advertised. The earliest date at which the Board of Supervisors could act to adopt the official map would be your second meeting in October, which is regularly scheduled for October 20th at 6:30 p.m.
And this was reviewed by the Ordinance Task Force?
Correct, and the Planning Commission.
Right, and I unfortunately missed both of those meetings due to personal obligations. I noticed the streams are now on
That was a very good catch, thank you.
that were missing on the northern and western part of the township. And okay, I'll make a motion. Jason, you have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
I'll make a motion that we advertise the official map.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next, C is amended soils, Bondsville Mill, additional soil request.
Good evening. As you're well aware, we're
Got to say your name so that,
Jim Buxala, Chair of the Bondsville Mill Park Committee. We're making headway on the garden project. We're approaching the end of the Phase 2 work, where we're placing the amended soils. Earlier this year, you gave us permission to purchase 2,000 cubic yards of soil from Laurel Valley Soils. We've approached the limit of that. Well, we placed the last of that 2,000 yards this week, and we need considerably more volume. The estimate is that we need 30 more 25-yard truckloads of the amended soils, which is about 750 yards. The purchase price approved was $50.56, I think, and we've been getting it at a unit cost below that, which is well below their CoStar's contract. I think they're charging us $46 and change. So at a price of about $1,150 per 25-yard load, for 30 of those, we're talking about a cost of $34,740
additional.
additional,
That was 34,700, you said?
740. We were projected to be in the black for our budgets, our capital fund budgets. That's the grant and the park development funds by about $21,341. That's less than the $34,740 that we need. So I'm asking two things here. I'm asking for permission to purchase more soils, amended soils, for the garden project. These are designed for the plants that are going to be installed there. And I'm asking for an increase in our budget this year to cover up that deficit of about $14,000.
The calculation, you talked cubic yards, and then you've talked, so all the calculations are based on cubic yards,
Yeah.
not on weight.
Not on weight, it's volume. And that, I believe, may be part of the issue here. There was considerably more settling of the soils than anticipated.
Well, that's my next question. Who made the calculation?
Well, Rocky Stone made the calculations. I went through the calculations myself. We used what we thought was a pretty conservative settlement rate of 35%, and it's settled more than that to the point
Is there a
where-
reason for that? Because the soils had to meet a certain specification, so I would have thought you're in the 35%, you know, off the top of my head, is certainly a reasonable settlement rate.
I would think it would be reasonable as well.
But-
It must have something to do with the way these soils were designed and mixed. I am not a plants person. I do not understand different types of soil.
Magic soil, it's,
Well, it is magic soil, according to David Culp. It's so magic that we won't need
that
to
price
use
is-
fertilizer.
It's not
But
fill dirt.
It's not fill dirt, no. It has organics in it, it has sand, it has,
Well, that
and
brings up
it's
another
pH
question. If
balanced.
you have organics in it, it's going to settle even more. So how do we,
Well, we have a track record now, based on what we've placed. We have an understanding of what we think we need, based on our direct experience on the park.
Jason, you have any questions before I ask more?
I'm all right. It is magic soil, though.
The problem we have here is your request is certainly reasonable, but there's two problems. One may be quickly solvable, and the other probably is not solvable tonight. The two problems is that we already approved the budget based on what you requested, and we're not big enough to just start switching money around within our budgets. So the two solutions you came up with is, one is you're under budget that's already been approved. I personally don't have a problem, and I'll let Jason speak of using that amount of money, shift it from areas you haven't used it in an already approved budget into soils, but then that still leaves the $14,000, and without having some idea where that's going to come from, I'm not willing to
Well, perhaps
say
we-
yes or no tonight.
We could ask for some insight from Mr. Revan with regard to fluidity there.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
I didn't even hear
The
that.
question is, can the township shift $14,000 over to this park project? Is there fluidity in the township's budget to allow that?
Okay.
Or take it out of someplace else in your
Yeah.
current budget.
Well, we've been using our capital fund budget for the park development to support the garden project already. So this $21,341 is our.
No,
Okay,
and I said
so-
I'm okay with that because it's already been budgeted.
On the whole,
Is
yeah.
there another 14,000 you can find that's already been budgeted?
No. That $21,000 is all of the money remaining in our budget.
I guess you don't want to put fill dirt in on the bottom and let the organics work its way in.
Personally, I don't feel that strongly about it, but I know that there are members in the horticultural committee that helped to design these soils that are adamant that
No,
this
I
is the
understand.
type
I'm
of
being a
soil
little
we need.
facetious, and I apologize.
Okay.
But I haven't had time to try to figure out where we can take it from in the budget. I mean, in reality, we've, if we take it out of the only place it can really come out of is the general fund, because we can't go raid somebody else's capital budget.
Do we have money in the rec fund? In lieu of?
Let me slightly rephrase your question. My apologies for that, and I'm going to direct the camera over here. I take your question as a liquidity question. Is there
Yes.
cash
Right.
in order to pay an additional $14,000 out of the township's capital reserve? And the answer is yes. We will not bounce a check if the board authorizes the Bonsville Mill Committee to go over budget in the remaining portion of the year. Yes. The other, I guess, fiscal notes from an administration perspective is that this is a CoStar's purchase, so there is no purchase agreement to amend. We can purchase more or less, depending on the rate that is in that CoStar's contract. So there's no advertising or contract to amend. Second, that my own personal change order spending authority is $10,000. So it does need to be a board action. So with those three notes, there is liquidity, it exceeds my spending authority, and it's a CoStar's purchase, and therefore no need to competitively bid or seek telephone bids. I would say that the township, the board could authorize this over budget expenditure. I hope that gets at the core of the question.
Well, it gets it, right, it's, you've succinctly summarized all the concerns or hurdles or the things you have to do. Are you planting flowers in there? Are you planting plants in there this year?
Yes.
Or is that deferred to
Yes,
next
we're on a
spring?
tight schedule, and there's another agenda item tonight with regard to the purchase or the approval of the bidder for the,
Right, okay.
for the supply of the plants. Sandy and Dave Culp would like to plant trees and bulbs this fall, which means November. So we would like to finish the placement of the soils at the very least by the end of October so that they can do that.
Jason, what are your, thoughts? I mean, we all want you to get the soil, but we can't,
I apologize
we, we.
for the
we-
late
we-
notice.
We
I-
can't
it
set
didn't
precedents
become
because then
apparent until
we'll
about
have
2
12
weeks
other
ago.
committees in here.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Jason, what do you think about Luke's spending authority up to $9,999? Just let him figure that part out?
I'm sorry to interrupt on that. I would characterize my spending authority, which comes from a dialogue that we had in about January of 2021, is that I'm authorized to approve expenditures of less than $10,000 for budgeted items. So if we're just going to take a really bureaucratic approach here, I'd say not only am I not authorized to spend an additional $34,000, I'm also not authorized to exceed the budget in any given category.
All right, well, see, and that's our problem.
We have to check with the budget, we have to look at the whole budget committee. I mean, again, I haven't seen it really yet. To be really
We're-
commenting.
The budget is okay this year. It's not setting the world on fire because, believe it or not, you can already see the changes in the housing market with revenues, transfer taxes, offsetting, and interim taxes. Offsetting that is the earned income taxes a little ahead of budget, but the fact of the matter is, all of our costs are ahead of budget. So, back to the fact that you're paying a little less than the authorized $50. Have you spent the extra $4 yet?
These numbers are real numbers.
I mean, I'm trying to find a way to get your,
Yeah. Believe me, I've looked at this
okay.
from several perspectives already. This is the bottom line of the situation.
What about we give them to them this year for the soil because I want it to get going and then take it away next year?
Final two
That way you
possible.
can still move forward and
Right.
it's not going to really offset.
But they haven't made their presentation yet, so, to the budget committee.
Right.
So I know how to play numbers like that. But I guess if you're looking for our approval tonight, I kind of concur with Jason. The only solution right now tonight, without sitting back and restudying it and making you wait 2 weeks when you're on a tight time schedule, is to say, okay, if we give you that extra $14,700 or whatever that was, you got to take it out of next year's budget.
We may have to if we can't figure it out.
As a contingency, so
Pardon me?
as a contingency, I mean, maybe we won't have to do
Maybe
that.
if
but,
you can
uh,
find it in the
you
budget
can
during
right,
the
you-
presentation, then you don't have to, but if we don't, we're have to.
Well,
Or do something. I mean, you're going to cut back next year.
we can't find it in this year's budget.
Right, but
because-
next year is going to be a difficult year for the township.
Right. Well, I will
2023.
also add that liquidity-wise, we have money coming in from the grants this year as well.
I understand that.
Okay.
So that
I'm
prevents us
anxious.
setting a precedent
Yes,
and lets you move forward immediately.
that's what I would like.
So, am I allowed public comment? Gordon?
Sure. My recommendation, first of all, if you don't mind, I don't
No.
mind stating a recommendation. And
You are the
then-
chief executive of the township.
Okay, so I do have opinions, even if it exceeds my expending authority. I think an important part of this request that is that this deliverable is part of Phase 2 of a series of improvements in the park for, to remove a concrete pad, to replace the area excavated by the concrete pad with soils, to purchase plants and install hardscaping in that area, and then to install a parking lot. And that's essentially phases 1 through 4 of this project. We have substantial grant funding for that. All of these over-budget items are decreasing, or shall we say, increasing the proportion of the total project costs being paid by the taxpayers of East Brandywine instead of the county and the state through their grant programs. However, I feel we have an obligation to fill these gaps as they come up, however unfortunate they are, in order to meet our local match on these grants. And we also have a sequencing concern in as much as the delivery of these soils must occur before the next phase, which is the planting. So my recommendation would be that the board authorize the additional soil purchases this evening. And then as it relates to public comment, whenever the board gets to a point where they would like to make a motion one way or the other, I would then recognize anybody who wants to make a comment on this.
Well, let's have the comment now before we,
Very good.
you have to come up to the microphone, since we're recording.
Good evening. I'm Keith Dotz. I'm part of your community, first time here. So it wasn't a comment, it was a question. I didn't understand what the ask was for the additional funds. And Luke, you kind of went over what the project is. It's removal of a concrete pad, putting topsoil back down.
Excavation of the soil, everything down.
Correct.
Fill it
So
back up to build.
my
Part of
que-
an overall large project.
No, and I got that. Luke did a very good
All
job
right.
doing a summary. But my question is there an erosion issue? Has it been compacted properly?
And this soil is special mixed. I mean, it's not just soil they picked out of a field. It's got mushroom soil in it. It's got tons of organics. It's got sand because you need sand for drainage. It's expensive soil.
Right.
A lot of concrete and excavation had to fill back up after.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
And we got, actually, I thought we got a reasonable price on it.
Yeah, I think we got a reasonable price.
Thank you.
Okay.
Another comment.
Hi, my name's George Henderson. Perhaps an option is to rescope the project a little smaller so that we can go ahead and do a secondary budget for next year and complete it.
No, because it's part of a
No, it's
huge,
all or
it's a
nothing?
four-step, yeah, it's a four-step plan.
We'll lose them all.
The area has to be filled with something, and plants are going to go in there. It has to be this type of soil that goes in there so that the plants will survive.
Sure, yeah.
So the area has been defined, and it is what it is now. That's what we're dealing with.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
It would interfere with the grants that were already awarded. We had to show them our schedule, show them the project, and actually, it was awarded per the schedule, per the completion, everything else. So that's a lot, I think it's more than like 400,000, I think, or at least.
For the first round of grants was like $475,000.
that'd
And the
be
first
like-
round of grants was phases 1 and 2, concrete pad removal, and then everything we're doing right now, the electric service installation, the well installation, the water lines,
What's the
It would
exact
jeopardize
amount?
the future grants too from our schedule that
What's
we,
the exact amount you're asking for? 14,000 what?
14,000 even.
So I'm okay with approving that tonight so that it can be purchased, but my motion would be that 14,000 is to be deducted from next year's budget.
Well, we've put a budget request in based on what we think we can accomplish next year. And whether we get that full amount or not, we'll have to make some adjustments, I'm sure.
because they haven't presented it to the
All right,
budget
you make
committee.
that motion. No,
That way, because they haven't presented to the budget committee, so we can deal with that. We can
Correct.
make that anyway.
It's a good point, so you make
That
the
way it
motion.
gives them flexibility.
I'm
Is that okay?
trying to be flexible, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve an additional $14,000 for the Bondsville Mill project to purchase the soils to stay on schedule.
And to purchase the $34,740 worth
yeah.
of soil.
And to,
Right, but we're only, the motion is an additional 14,000 to purchase, because you're using
$14,000 beyond our budget.
1,000 of
to
your-
purchase $34,740.
you just lost me. No, it's-
No,
Right.
We need about 30 more 25-yard truckloads, which is about 750 yards at $11.58 per truckload. That's $34,740.
Right.
So that purchase would take us over our existing budget by $14,000, which is, so I'm asking for two things here. I'm asking for an increase in our budget for this year, and I'm asking for permission to purchase additional soil from Laurel Valley.
For the total of 58,000.
Right. I would, amending a township's budget is its own procedure that has steps in the second-class township code. I think for simplicity, I think that the motion here is to purchase additional amended soils under the existing CoStar's contract in the amount of 300 cubic yards?
750.
750 cubic yards, with the understanding that on December 31st, when we get our final statements, the line items that add up to Bondsville Mills expenditures will be $14,000 over budget.
Well, we don't know what it's going to be.
No, the chairman is telling you that they were projected to have a surplus they were going to be under budget. And so this unexpected expenditure totaling
Okay, so
$34,000.
you're putting in that. I thought you were, I mean, something else could go wrong. And they
That's
asked
always
for
true,
it.
yes. It's not a perfect
You're
world.
going to run out of time, though, soon. I see. No, there's actually no real guarantee.
There's no absolute guarantee, but we have placed 2,000 cubic yards of soil out there. We have a firsthand understanding of how the soil's behaving and settling, and this is the person's estimate of what is needed. The person that's placing the soils has estimated we need about 30 more 25-yard truckloads.
And they probably overestimated it, but so they wouldn't have.
So you want to remake the motion?
Yeah, but you confused me. So I was going for the,
Again,
Right, no, all right,
I'm a little bit.
all right, I'll take a stab at it.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow the purchase of 750 more cubic yards of the soil under the CoStar's contract, amounting to approximately $35,000, and that that's actually all I need is in the motion.
I'll
Right.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope you understand, we're trying to give you a hard time. There are rules, and we don't want, you just can't change a budget, because those budgets are sent to Harrisburg, and I don't think they look at them, but they say they do.
I completely understand, and I appreciate your consideration and your willingness to work with us. Thank you.
All right, that was the easy one. How about the plants? That's next. Bid award for purchase of plants at Bondsville Mill
That's what
Park.
we're talking.
Okay, we rebid the plants. This is Phase 3.
Right, because they were over budget, right?
No, actually, they weren't over budget. Our problem was the hurricane damage to the bridge required repair of the bridge. That
Right.
delayed the schedule
it's got
of
the
our
temporary
completion of
fix
Phase
now.
2. And although we had put this out for bid last spring, and we had a bidder, we had to reject that bid because the timeline had changed so markedly. So we put that back out to bid a couple of weeks ago. We have 2 bids in for the supply of the soil specified in the project scope of work. And the low bidder is Malco Landscaping Incorporated. They're out of Harrisburg. They came in with a bid of $58,348.21. And Benoni has reviewed this bid. We've reviewed the credentials, and they're recommending that we accept their bid for the supply of plants. Reminding you that this is just for the supply of plants. The actual installation will be done by volunteers.
If I may, Nate called me this afternoon about eliminating one line item.
Yeah, that's no longer an issue. We talked to the vendor. They're not willing to eliminate it. I don't know how they work their bid, but this plays into
Right. I'm sure it
the
does.
bottom line.
Right.
And so it's all or nothing, and we're accepting it as it is.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for the, is this my copy? Your copy?
That's yours. Kyle's. Yours is right.
And this is perfectly in line with what we budgeted in the grant application for this,
You okay with
the
it?
plans.
I'll make a motion to award the landscaping project for Bonzo Mill to Marco Landscaping in the amount of $58,348.21 for the total of their base bid contingent upon the execution of the contract as well as their furnishing of the required bonds and insurance.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, 6E, Hideaway Farms, HOA, parking concerns.
Hi, folks. My name is Greg Rhodes. I'm president of the Hideaway Farms HOA. I've been asked to represent, and by the way, Keith Dotz is here as well. He's treasurer of the Hideaway HOA. We've been asked to represent some of our 150 homeowners, express some concerns over the parking agreement or parking potential legislation. It's not called legislation. What is
Adoption,
it called?
I guess.
Adoption.
Yeah.
So we heard a bunch of things, just as the Board of Supervisors did as well. So we actually I put out a petition for people to sign to get input from them to figure out what everybody's concerns were. So far, I think the petition's been open now probably like 3 or 4 days. We've had 56 individuals sign it. I don't know if those are exactly 56 homeowners or, multiple owners of the same area. But there have been a number of different concerns. I can talk through those real quick if that's okay. That putting signs up really isn't necessary, that it's a significant side issue to the rest of the neighborhood, unnecessary obstructions, some specific interesting statements from folks. There's one, let's see. These no parking signs are not needed in our community. There are very few vehicles that park on the streets. These signs will be an eyesore and detract from the beauty and the value of the of the community. Moreover, these signs could pose a clear danger to children, adults, and others that may collide with them in bikes and scooters, things like that. So there definitely is a lot of concern within our HOA about putting up these signs. And we also wanted to talk about, hey, if the Board of Supervisors still needs to do that, we have some concerns even about what the proposal was. So first I would say the proposal as it read really needs to follow what the path was. And so it's not putting complete signs over what some of those instructions were. Specifically the Emma Court leg there, you'll notice that there are paths that are not on the street. It actually starts about halfway up Emma Court there. The same with Patriot Lane. Patriot Lane doesn't have walking paths on the bottom part of that kind of circle. Patriot Lane is the wonderful place that is actually a circle, not a lane. But it's the bottom part of that circle that doesn't have it. So there's definitely concerns about that proposal specifically. We also had points, have you ever worked with HOAs before? Because the HOA in our responsibility has an ability to administer this ourselves, to impose fines on our communities, to pose rules about where parking and things can be. So rather than spending taxpayer money and putting up signs, you can certainly work with HOAs if there's a significant concern to be able to administer that as well. Alternate proposals. So part of our HOA community is actually in the West Brandywine portion. And one of the things that was brought to our attention is West Brandywine, in our opinion, has an interesting way to resolve this or how to solve this. They have no parking in their entire township. And there's actually a no parking permitted on roadways proposal here. And it talks, about what to do, call in if you have guests, if you have folks that are doing work, that type of thing. So again, rather than putting up signs, you have an ability to administer that even through the whole township. That's pretty much it. Keith, do you have any thoughts? Okay.
Are those those roads, are they township roads or are they private roads?
Right.
Township.
I'll answer, but I may defer to Roadmaster at various points. All of the roads in the Hideaway Farms neighborhood are dedicated now to the township.
Thought.
What precipitated this conversation was, as is customary after we accept dedication of new roads, we amend our traffic ordinances to establish what are four-way stops, what are three-way stops, and where parking is allowed or not allowed, so that any tickets written by our police department can be enforceable. The built environment in Hideaway Farms consists of some share the road areas where there's a white stripe painted on one side of the road, and elsewhere as a separate detached asphalt trail throughout. What township staff had anticipated as the contents of an ordinance establishing the no parking areas is, in those areas where there's a share the road model, we would mark them as no parking. I will say, for the purposes of the board's consideration and the Hideaway Farms wishes, there's no rule that says they must be post no parking. The trade-off, however, is that if we get a complaint about someone parking in a share the road area, our ticket is not going to stick.
They would have to do it.
So I think there's a lot of flexibility here.
Well,
It's just
there's a
bear in mind
safety-
that it
but
would.
there's I'm concerned about the potential safety issue. To have cars parked in a marked area that's supposed to be a trail. And so if it's a township road, it's our responsibility to protect our residents.
I like one sign saying you can't park anywhere in the neighborhood.
So,
I mean, or none, and just say it's on the lines, it's a public ordinance and law, and you know.
One of the questions I had is this the first time you've run into this in developments in the neighborhood? Have
It's
you?
always different with everything.
in the
Everyone's
neighborhood-
different, all the
every
HOA
neighborhood's different.
bylaws are, it
Got it.
depends. Some are dedicated,
Yeah,
some aren't.
by way of a further answer on that, there is a map on the township's webpage, which I've projected here, and it shows all the roads in the township, and everything is one of four colors. Green are township roads, orange are state roads, red are private roads, pink are roads that are private but will be offered for dedication at a later date. So in the case of most recent subdivisions, the roads were retained control by the HOA, and so they're private roads.
right,
And
so
so
you
we
really
have
don't
not had
own
this
the
issue
roads, you
recently.
don't control the roads.
Right, but either way, the HOA can still control our homeowners, and that's the implication, not talking about, administering the roads, that's you all.
Right, but then your friends don't like you anymore.
Exactly. It's a thankless job, as you guys know, so.
You're brave to even be the president.
I kind of like the West Brandywine's idea. I'd like to take a look at that.
Well,
Cheaper,
right,
better for them.
Sir, Greg's right. I mean, there's very few people that
I'm sorry, I've got to be the nag. We are recording this, and
Yeah,
your
you
voice
have to
will not
come
be
up. If you're
picked
gonna
up if
speak,
you're
you
not
have
by
to
the
come to the-
microphone.
Sorry, Keith Dots again. Greg is right. Very few people actually park on either side of the road. And I think, the police patrol the community very well. I mean, I see police out there all the time. We don't really think there's an issue. I do like the idea of no parking at any time, and if there are families that have events or parties, they have to go through the community and get permission to authorize a set number of cars.
Graduation
And
parties, whatnot.
we also enforce it at the same time.
But do they have to do that if they're township roads?
If it's their HOA, I would think, maybe.
Well,
Tom
the
can look
HOA
into it. Tom can look
doesn't
into it, yeah.
maintain the roads or own the roads.
I thought what I heard is that they'd have to contact the township.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, not
I
the
thought
roads
the
guys.
community, okay.
Though if you need
right. I
us
mean-
to administer that, that could be something we could discuss. That's up to you guys.
That does create an administrative burden.
Yeah. I kind of wondered how West Brandywine did that, so I wonder if they really answer the
They
phone,
probably haven't
if
figured it
there's,
out yet.
Yeah.
just checking. But it does give them an ordinance to administer against, so that's.
No, but if we don't put, even if you don't allow parking, if you don't put no parking signs up, I thought I heard that then, if there is a complaint and a police officer responds, you can't write a ticket.
Right, ticket, but if they.
Well, You're not
It
gonna
can
take your
be-
time writing a ticket that you know it's gonna be thrown out.
It's
I
not
mean, you can-
enforceable.
You can ask them to leave, but, you know.
Give the community some boots.
I have a question. Did you say your HOA documents say that they're not permitted to park on the road? Is that what you're?
No, I did not say that.
No.
I said, as an HOA, we have the ability to create our ordinances, rules on our own that can do that, and also create fines for our community members, those types of things.
But sometimes you do need to park on the road. So why don't you create in your documents the no road parking, and then people have to go through you? Is that legal? If they're township roads?
Yeah, I think they could do that.
I mean,
As long
maybe,
as we don't
I mean,
object
you
to
really
it.
are asking us to let you self-enforce it, so that's really the answer I want to come up with.
Yeah.
I
how
mean,
that
it's
can-
your group.
I don't think we disagree at all about the need to not park in the
But sometimes
walkway.
there will be a need.
Yeah.
A graduation party, a wedding,
Well,
this or
even
that.
then, I mean,
Right,
there's no
mean,
need to park in the walkway, there's other sides of the streets. Heck, I park in my grass purposely not to park in the walkway, so. I agree, I think that's what,
I mean, we already started to draft an ordinance, and just so I understand, is there any objection to a prohibition of parking on the side of the street where the walkway is?
Well, see, I think that's what we agree upon.
What I heard was an objection to the signs, but
I think that's the major part. I think a subset of our community would object to any type of ordinances, but I think the major concern is the signs and how that would affect the community. Correct.
Yeah.
and certainly there's enough room to park on the other side of the road.
Right.
So that's the
Reasonable.
Yeah, so I guess what we're really trying to ask is, everywhere that we have the white area parked, you know, the walkway that's designated on the street, since there are no sidewalks, you can't park on that side, all right? And if that's gonna make your job harder to enforce, then we need to acquiesce and come in and say, there can be some amount of signs to say no parking. And the HOA members, they have to deal with it, okay? But for you guys to come in, and this is where we were misunderstanding, for you guys to come in and say there's no parking in the community, that's kind of why we're standing here, because there are times when people do need to park. I mean, people putting pools in, there's trucks parked along the side of the road, you know, for
I think that's one of the things you saw.
a period of time, but it's a short period of time, you know? So we're in agreement with you guys with regard to, there can be a limited signs because that's how you are gonna be able to do your job.
Yeah, is painting on the road a possibility, no
Yeah,
parking?
actually, I think,
'Cause then
that's
it
what
could
I was
be
just gonna ask.
Enforceable, and it's not the eyesore or the safety concern of signs. I don't know, I mean, that's a mad question, but
Yeah,
I'm telling you, it will help us in court.
Yeah, I think if, everyone were angels, then people would see that side of the road is marked as a trail, and they wouldn't park there, and it wouldn't be necessary for the HOA to say anything, and it wouldn't be possible for the police to do anything. I mean,
Who's gonna paint?
if all men were angels, there'd be no need for government. The problem is going to be when we start getting, or if at some point we get complaints about vehicles routinely parked in the share the road areas. And I defer to the solicitor and to you as to what's enforceable in court. If an ordinance plus some additional paint markings would do it, and it doesn't cause the visual blight that the HOA is concerned about, sounds like a great path forward.
And we would have to check that, because I would say that the vehicle code says you have to have signs, but I'm not certain of that as I sit here. I don't know that you can paint something on the road and that does it, so. But we'll have to look at that.
And then who's responsible for the painting?
It would remain the township. Those are our roads.
All right, so we'd have to put that in the budget, because you're gonna have to repaint them every 3-4 years.
Yeah, it's planned to be painted this fall.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
within a few weeks.
Including no parking, if that's the way we go? That costs more.
It's a big stencil.
We're good. We're not
We
psychic.
gotta pay the people to move.
The HOA can pay for some pink spray paint if we want to.
No, you gotta use a special paint.
No, but I think the LT's right. I mean, I think if you can clearly paint and mark it out and just put no parking, people will see it.
All right, so can we defer a motion until you,
Well,
look at loose
Have a
ends?
motion, just, we're gonna look into it.
yeah, we're just having a conversation at this point. I mean, we
Okay.
already started to draft an ordinance, but we stopped because we didn't know
All
what
right.
direction to go.
But I think everybody wants the same thing.
But the direction is is there a consensus that there would be no parking on the side of the street?
That has the
where
path
the
is.
share of the road is, and we'll have to research on how we can
If it can be
sign
done
it
with
and
painting.
enforce it.
Right.
Okay.
And just the specific part of that, on the side of the street where the actual path is, because there are sides of that street where the path's on that doesn't have a path.
Right, you already have crosswalks marked and stuff.
Right, exactly. I'm just saying so that was just part of the original proposal. The entire length of Patriot Lane is not appropriate because there are areas of Patriot Lane that don't have a path.
Understood.
But that would come for free with lining and stuff.
The roadways are 26 feet wide where the walkways are, and where there isn't walkways, the roadway's 20 feet wide.
Okay.
There's 20 what?
It's 20 feet wide.
Okay.
Is that normal for width? or-
20 feet is
Okay.
a normal width, yes.
Awesome. That's all I had, folks. I appreciate the time.
All right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing for item 7 tonight, so we can move on to item 8. Ordinances and resolutions for consideration, Resolution 15 of 2022, designation of emergency service providers.
Yes, so the backstory on this resolution is the township annually satisfies its second-class township code obligation to designate emergency service providers for the territory of East Brandywine at our reorganization meeting in January. In January of this year, the Board of Supervisors appointed as the emergency service provider for advanced life support and basic life support, and 2/3 of the township is to Minquist Ambulance, and the 1/3 went to MICU 93, which is a Tower Health based at Brandywine Hospital, and that was for the 1/3 of the township that is located in the south and west corner. Effective September 1st of this year, Tower Health is withdrawn to the Reading area and no longer providing service. And so before you this evening is a revised resolution establishing emergency service providers. The only thing of substance that has changed is that now, pursuant to a recommendation of the East Brandywine Fire Company, the entirety of the township is served for both advanced and basic life support by Minquist. And I and any of the far more qualified individuals in this room can answer any questions about service with that introduction.
Okay, I mean, I already figured that anyway. You good?
I'm good with it.
I'll make a motion, we adopt Resolution 15 of 2022, resolution of our township designating emergency service providers to be provided by Minkus Fire Company. Ambulance of Dangtown will provide basic life support.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And item 8B is the Resolution 16 of 2022, appointing non-voting members to the East Brandywine Township Planning Commission.
Right. I always feel like when these parts of the agenda come up, I usually have a thing where I say, oh, I'm sorry to say that so-and-so after 10 years of service is leaving, and then I'm pleased to introduce so-and-so to join, and I'm sure they're going to be a great addition. But in this instance, the Planning Commission is using a provision of our township code that allows for non-voting members of the Planning Commission to join. So these recommendations represent unfilled current vacancies as non-voting members of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is recommending that the Board of Supervisors appoint 3 members as non-voting members of the Planning Commission for a term that will end on January, the first Monday of January 2026. Included in your packet is the resolution as well as the application materials submitted by those individuals. And with that, I'd respectfully ask that the board adopt Resolution 16 of 2022.
I thought at one time we had 4 applicants, not 3.
Did I miscount?
No, that's right.
This represents this is the motion of the Planning Commission
Okay.
to adopt.
All right, I'll make a motion that we appoint, or I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 16 of 2022, appointing non-voting members to the East Brandywine Township Planning Commission.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment on non-agenda items. Notices.
I had a question for Luke. Did you get your extension letter from, for Brandywine Walk?
Yes.
Yes, there is no risk of a deemed approval on the application for Brandywine Walk this evening.
Are there any notices?
I have none.
None? Okay. All right, I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well done, Mr. Acting Chairman.